Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe. Entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Welcome to episode 82 of the Industry Angel. Good to have you back. And actually today's episode, the 20th of Feb, was supposed to be a live episode, but we had to cancel, unfortunately. We cancelled this morning due to the UK snow. It's been relentless. The roads are terrible. We didn't want people travelling. We didn't want people to miss out. And so we pulled the plug this morning. We are gutted. But we'll do it again. We'll postpone. It'll be fine. We'll push another date out. So if you've got tickets, don't worry about it. You'll hear again and we'll get together soon. So today, a friend of ours has jumped in and filled the gap. So thank you to today's guest for doing that. And we'll hear from her soon. Okay, let's do some shout outs first before our guest. We've had Natalie Paris, who got in touch via Twitter to say she really enjoyed the episode with Simon Raybould. We've had Susan Woods from LinkedIn. She'd been recently introduced to our podcast by regular listener Gavin Forster. And we are brightening up her journey to work. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Susan. Keep listening. Christopher Thompson dropped a message to say he's a big fan of the show and he's looking forward to attending the live podcasts. We've got one next Friday, Christopher. That is the 9th of March, I believe, in Sunderland. So hope to see you there. Rushab Shah has been listening on his tube journeys and really enjoyed the show. And now he's just got to do the back catalogue. Rushab, you've got 80 to get through, my friend. So keep in touch and let me know how it's going. Okay, let's hear from today's guest. Today we have Sharon Bolt, the founder of Get Free Publicity Today. Welcome to the Industry Angel, Sharon.
Hello, Ian. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Well, thank you for sending me the email. So I think this is a good place to start, Sharon, because you sent me a great email requesting to be on the show. And if you don't mind, can I share some of that email?
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, you mentioned my accent, which proves you listen. And to be honest, I do get a lot of comments about that. And then you mentioned a couple of episodes. And you mentioned specific content on them episodes and your take on that, which I really enjoyed. And then you succinctly nailed what you did and the benefits. You checked me out socially and mentioned my company, Far North. You identified what value you could bring to the audience and, you know, what you could do for them, what you could leave with them. And can you remember my reply to this?
Yes. Now, let me think. I can. Now, I think it said something like, that's the way to pitch.
That's correct. And it totally struck with me. So I'm a sales professional. I've always worked in sales. I do a lot of sales coaching. And when I read that, I was like, I don't think I can change that anyway. It was just perfect for me.
Oh, that sounds good.
So I want you to tell the audience what your pitch was all about, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, as you're saying here, it's really about getting to know the person and the show that you want to be a guest on. Now, obviously, you need to be a good fit. So this isn't all about me and how wonderful I am. It's what can I bring to the show? So what content could I share? What benefits could I give to your listeners? And how could I perhaps educate and entertain your listeners? So it's all about what you can do for them, not about how good I am.
So is this your role, Sharon? Are you in PR?
I am indeed, yes.
Okay.
I literally do that. So I teach people how they can get onto TV, onto the best podcast shows, just like this one, how to get on the radio and into newspapers.
And who do you do that for?
I do that for my own company, and I do it for the people that I particularly, I focus on are startup companies, small business owners and entrepreneurs.
So what do you do? What do you do, Sharon? Do you coach them? Do you give them do you write them pitches? Do you write them free PDF guides? How does it start? Or I'm guessing all of the above.
Well, it is, but what I actually have devised and created, Ian, which I'm so excited about, is I've created these 3 online publicity courses. So what I've done is I've sectioned them out. So one course is specifically for people that want to get featured on top blog sites and newspapers and magazines. And then there's also another course for people who want to get featured on the top podcast shows and radio stations, and another one for people who want to get featured on TV. Because what I found was, over my years of experience of being fortunate enough to be interviewed on all of those channels, is that it's different, and how you pitch one type of media channel is different to how you would pitch another one. And also the media training, because that's what I teach and train people to do as well, because it's not just about getting onto a show, it's also turning those media, the whole media experience into customers as well. So, it's about running a business too. So that's how I do it. I've created these 3 online courses, and that's how I teach people.
It's interesting there. So what you've said is that you've got a number of pitches for a number of different mediums. So if you want to get on TV, you use these words. If you want to get on podcasts, you use these words. Am I correct?
Exactly, yeah, because you see, on TV, it's all about visual, and if you're pitching to a TV producer, that you need to take them on a visual journey, which is very different if it's like for a newspaper article, because of course we still need to be able to give that vision to people, but it's more about what they're reading, so it's very different.
Right, my ears have pricked up there. To take me on a visual journey. So this is TV, okay? So Ian wants to get on TV. What would I do?
Right. So again, you would research the show. This is the number one thing that you would always do. So you think to yourself, you think in your head, where would I most like to be interviewed on? And it needs to be on a channel specifically to where your target market hangs out, what they watch in this type of instance. So it could be that they particularly hang out on a particular show. It could be, it's usually a breakfast show or something like that. And then what type of shows is going to be relevant to the type of content that you could share? So you need to first start with your research. Because again, you could come up with a brilliant story idea, and if you're pitching it to somebody or a producer that has nothing to do with what you're talking about, then it just goes on deaf ears and it's deleted. So once you know that you're a good match for a particular show, you find the right producer or researcher for that show, and now we're going to take them on a visual journey. So how I would do this is I use certain words like picture this or imagine this, and then you talk about how it would play out. So for example, if it was something on TV, you want to have some type of props. You will have known this yourself, Ian, when you're watching, say, I don't know, what's one of the shows here, like Good Morning Britain or This Morning or something. They often have experts in where they demonstrate how to do something. So they have props, or it's cooking, or it's demonstrating how to do something. So that's the type of story idea that you need to explain to the producer, so that you're not just telling them, you're showing them how it's going to work.
That's really interesting. So so if I was going to pitch to a producer, do I talk about my personal brand? Do I talk about the audience that I can bring along in terms of being, an influencer in a particular space?
That's a really good question, Ian, isn't it? Because this is the other thing about your research. I mean, these TV programs, they've got huge followers. They've got a lot of people. Of course, they're always interested in bringing more people. but it's not their number one focus usually. It's usually about, are you a good fit for their channel and the type of stories and ideas that they tend to feature. Now, one of the best ways to do this is a bit like we were talking about earlier, is like keeping it current. So what's happening currently? Now, this could be something like, the snow. We were saying about this, before we started, wasn't we? How, we've had a lot of snow. So can you come up with a story idea? Maybe you have a product or you've invented something that helps people over some hurdles or struggles that's related to snow. So, of course, you are current right now. And that's the type of thing you're looking to pitch for.
If I can wind this right back there, so could you tell our audience sort of why this is important to be featured on various stuff?
As in specific channels?
We'll take it right back to brass tacks, Sharon. So in terms of PR, why is it important to be on TV or radio or get in the press or any magazines, What does it do? What's it actually doing for you?
Yeah, that's really good. And it's really important because people think, well, why would I want to do that? That's quite scary. It's a way of positioning you automatically as an authority and a leader in your field. So that's the number one thing. It can change the status of your business sometimes overnight, particularly if it's on something like TV. Your brand is being shown to millions and millions of people. And also the people that come looking for you are your target market. So they're expecting your prices to be a little bit more than the normal type of person in your industry because you're being featured in the media. It's almost as if the media is endorsing what you do and they are giving you the credibility that they've chosen you and selected you from all the other people in your industry to be the specialist and the expert in your field on their show. So it does huge things. It really, it elevates you into sometimes a celebrity status, which I know seems a bit crazy, but there's this whole thing that's rife about celebrity at the moment in the world. So if you can become the celebrity in your niche, now you are above and beyond your competitors.
That's great, but we're British. And I'm sure you have this conversation with clients, because I do from a sales point of view, that we don't really push ourselves too much. And, some of my clients will kind of wait to be asked or wait to be found. So is this a conversation that you have?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's all about being very British and being polite and everything. And, there's a way that we can put ourselves out there and still be polite. It's about if you don't believe in you, then no one else is going to believe in you. So there is a way of doing it. It's not about being arrogant. It's about helping. This is the key thing to remember when you're pitching to, whether it be TV or any other medium. You are trying to help them fill a slot. It is their job to create interesting content that's educational, that informs their audience. So you are helping them because, they have a job to do, and it can be a nightmare trying to find really good guests. So, of course, you roll up and you say, now, this is what I can bring to the table. This is what I can offer your audience. This is how I can entertain your audience. So, I'm here if I can help you.
So I've got some listeners now who will be sitting there, and there might be, let's pluck one out. Let's just say they're a web agency, okay, Sharon? So this person's sitting in a web agency now and thinking, yeah, that's really good for me. I'd like to get a bit more exposure, and I really get it. What could they talk about? That's what the question is going to be on people's minds, I would imagine. So what piece of content, where did they pluck this story from? I know you've mentioned trying to be quite topical, but if there isn't something topical, what could they sit and think about? What is their story?
Well, sometimes it can literally be their business story. Everyone has a business story. And the good thing is it doesn't have to be a rags to riches type of story to get someone's interest. It could be that we overcame something. So it could have been a health issue, or it could have been that we were just really wanted to pick up our children from school. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be all fancy and everything. It's just that we wanted to do things differently and share something with our children. So whatever your business story is, and how to come up with your business story is when you're telling other people. So it could be you go to an event and people are asking you what you do, and they're asking a little bit more about you and your story. What types of things do they like hearing about? What's interesting to them? These types of things. What makes you a bit different or a bit quirky? So what sort of stands out? Because what it is with journalists, they are professional storytellers. So they love a good story. And I think the main thing that to think about with this is that, with a lot of these reality shows today, like Britain's Got Talent and any type of music show where they actually they do a feature, don't they, about someone's story.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time we are drawn to their story and we want them to be good and get through. We're not really that interested if they're very good at what they do. We want them to get through. We're behind them because we like their story. It's all about storytelling, and this is what's really important, and to come up with your own business story. And a lot of the time, if it's the right media and the right journalist, they will love your business story.
So when you're working with clients, Sharon, do you sit with them and think, right, okay, let's think of a story for you. So tell me about your life. And then you pick the salient points out of that and then kind of unpack it and add a bit sort of PR spin on that. Is that what you do?
Yeah, you can do that. But the main thing that I say to people is, why do you do what you do? What started you up on this? So it's the why. Why do you do it? And was there something that caused you to do this differently? So, for example, if I'd say a little bit about my story, that hopefully might give some inspiration for people, because with me, it's always been a personal thing. So I actually had 2 Parson Terrier puppies, boys from the same litter. So they're 2 little boys, 8 weeks old when we got them. And I was told by numerous dog trainers it was the worst case scenario. They would fight for the top dog position and I'd probably need to rehome one. So I was on a mission then to try and find a way that I was going to keep my 2 dogs and live in harmony. So that's how it all started, about me looking for a way of communicating to them and looking at a different business, because at the time of getting them, I worked in complementary therapy. So I had a natural healing practice. And I just transitioned into the fact of becoming a professional dog trainer because I so wanted to keep my 2 puppies. And so that was something that is heart feeling to people, that, that people can get to know you, not just with their head, but their heart as well. So something that makes people feel something that people can resonate with and relate to. So it's those types of things.
Do you work with clients to come up with some sort of elevator pitch then? We know when they're at a networking event and they kind of say, I'm X, I do Y for Z. Do you work with them on that as well?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's important, isn't it? And certainly even in interviews, for a journalist, they want to know quick, what is it that you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about kind of faking it before you make it? Would you kind of give people a bit of advice to sort of say, you can kind of say you can say that you're the expert before you are, or?
Well, this is what's interesting, isn't it? Because going on a little bit more with my story is what happened for me was I had just sort of started to want to become a professional dog trainer, but I had no business. And I was listening to BBC Radio 2, and they said that they were looking to do a feature on why dogs misbehave. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I've been getting some really good results with my 2 puppies. And I'd also started to introduce some dog training to my complementary therapy clients, and they were having great results. So I thought to myself, do you know what? I can do that. I can be the one on that show to give some good advice to the listeners. So I sat down and I wrote an email to the show, and I explained about what I could do for their listeners, why dogs misbehaved, what the answers were, and for them to call me. So I sent that off and nothing happened. So over the next couple of days, well, it was because they'd said that it was going to be the following week they were going to get somebody on the show. So over the next 3 to 4 days, I sent another 2 follow-up emails to them with using different scenarios, because what they'd also said is they were going to get somebody on the show to talk about overweight dogs, and they refer to them as podgy dogs. So one of the subject lines for me in the email was, "Podgy dogs, I'm your girl." And then again, it was all about what I could do for them and how I could inform and educate their listeners. And it was the 3rd time of writing to them. I got a call from the researcher, and that was on the Monday morning. And then 2 days later, I was in the studios, the BB studios in London, in front of 6 million listeners when I had no dog training business. I had no subscribers and no website. What I did have was the belief that I could make a difference, and that I had enough information and knowledge that I could help their listeners. So I made it fun, I made it lighthearted, and I just believed that I could do it, so I went for it.
It's really spooky. I'm staring at my wall as you're talking there, and I've got a big sign which says believe. So, so I love that. And what did that feel like, though? I mean, was it nervous that initial time that you did it, and you had that maybe a bit of doubt? You know, you didn't have that maybe a bit imposter syndrome, but then you were trying to push the belief through. What did it feel like the first time?
Oh, it was so exciting because I wanted to push the boundaries. I didn't want to wait to be validated by someone else and to be told that I was okay and I could do this. I really believed I could make a difference. And it's so funny. And this is one thing that I always share with people to do, is that, you know, if you are doing something like that that's out of the norm, or you've got this idea that's a bit quirky and a bit unusual, that be careful who you share that information to, because one of the things that I knew at that time was that I couldn't share what I was doing with many people, because what happens is people reflect back onto you how it would feel for them in your situation. So I didn't want other people's fears of what if it goes wrong, or what if they ask you a question you don't know. I didn't want that to be projected on me. So I cocooned myself, and I told myself a good story about how I could make a difference, that it was going to be fun, it was going to be exciting, and I was going to have a good time. And that was my experience.
Excellent stuff. So that kind of made me think a little about the haters. So you raise your head, you raise your head above the parapet, and then people are going to say, you know, what does she know? What does he know? I mean, I'll give you an example. My friend Alex, who's the podcaster's coach, who's a regular listener. So hello, Alex. He's just wrote a book, which I collaborated on with him. And he put that out on Amazon. And he was just saying the other day how he got some kind of bad reviews and that, as if like, how does he know? How can he call himself an expert in the field? And what do you do when you get that? Because I know that really affected Alex for a little bit. And now it's just, hey, forget about them. You know, that's rubbish. So what happens, Sharon, when you get these haters? What's your advice for that?
Yeah, that is such a good question, Ian. And yes, you are going to get it. You know, it is going to happen. People are not going to always be as excited and happy for you. There's going to be competitors who are wanting to have done it themselves, who are going to say, I've been in business so many more years than that person. It's going to happen. And you know what? It happened to me after I got off that BBC Radio 2 station. What happened is the producer, the researcher, they walked around and they said that was so good. They were really happy, and that was great. And I got home, I was flying high, I was having such a good time. And that evening, a friend of mine said, "Oh, have you seen what they've been saying about you on this forum?" And And there it was. They were belittling me, that, I was giving outdated information, that I didn't, there was all of that going on. And it did knock me. I have to be honest and say it did knock me. And I got up the next morning and I thought to myself, now I have a choice here. I can either keep small, because that's what it makes you want to do. It makes you want to just stay small and not put yourself forward because you don't want to be judged and criticized. And look at all the opportunities you're going to miss out on because of that. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going for it. I'm not going to be held back by people who don't even know me. Never mind they're going to have an opinion about me, and that's okay. And that's, I think, what you have to do. I personally, I've asked everybody, don't let me know what other people are saying. And here's the trap as well in it, is because, it's lovely when we get all this praise of how wonderful you are and how you said such wonderful information. It made such a difference. But of course, that is the trap, because if you're looking for praise, you're also going to be affected by that one person who says it was nonsense. So, stay with yourself. Just stay focused within you. You know that what you do is with the best of intentions, that you're giving the best that you can, and make it about how you feel and not other people's judgments about you.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. But food for thought there.
It is going to happen though, Ian, isn't it? Because it also happens, friends judge you on it. There's relations, family members that will, plus the whole other brigade of the world that will have an opinion. So don't let other people hold you back. Just stay true to who you are and go for it.
Excellent. Sage advice, everybody. So I want you to leave us with some top tips, Sharon. Can I put you on this spot here? What is... Yes. Oh, good. I'm just going to leave it at that then. I was going to waffle for another minute and give you a bit of thinking time, but no, go for it. You're in. You're on the spot, you
ready
see.
whenever you are.
So, 2 or 3 actionable things. What can our audience who've had maybe, haven't had any exposure to PR, or maybe you're a bit nervous about it. I know we've mentioned there about kind of looking for your why, trying to find some content, but how do you take it forward? Is there any tips that you know that really make editors' ears prick up or anything like that?
Yeah, I think if you've had no previous experience and you're just starting out, not everybody's going to want to go big on go national radio station like I do. And I think it is important to not put yourself in a situation that you're frightened about. I lined up with that decision. I made it good within me. I didn't fear it, so it was exciting. So if that's you too, then absolutely go for the nationals. But I think, a lot of people like to start off with the local newspapers. And the great thing with local newspapers, they want to do stories about people doing good. So it can be your business story. A lot of people, in the local journalists, they like to hear about why their local industries and local businesses started out. So your business story for your local newspaper. And it is just literally a case of reading through the local newspaper. Have a look, because this is what's really great about the newspapers. The journalists and the reporters, they will often put their name on the piece and also their direct email address. Now that's really important, because that's going to exactly the right person that you want to speak to. So you can either ring them if if that's your bag. Not everybody feels okay to pick up the phone and ring a journalist, and I understand that. So if that's not what you want to do, that's fine. But get that direct email address and then just start to write a pitch. And the few tips I can give people about that is get to the point in the first paragraph. So, don't bury the treasure. These people are busy. So you need to, in that first paragraph, give them a summary of what the story idea is going to be about. And remember to make it all about how it's going to be interesting or educational or entertaining for their readers, their audience. It's always about their audience and how what you've got can be inspiring to their audience, can be educational or informing to them.
How would you approach this? Would you approach it really professional? This is the question I talk a lot about in sales. Or would you be fun but professional? You get what I mean. It's like, dear Ian, hello, hi, hey there. How does it go?
Yes. I mean, if you can obviously get their first name. So, it is about building relationships with journalists. So, hello, Ian would be great. And then I know we've come into this social media world and it really has made things informal now. And I think there's a lot of good in that, but don't do things like BTW as, by the way, in a pitch. Still keep it professional. Yes, you can be a bit quirky and bring your personality and character into it, but also get to the point. The journalists want to be entertained as well. So yes, use your own personality, but still keep it professional. That's my tip. It doesn't have to be formal, but keep it professional.
Yeah, and would you say, just to inject a little bit of your personality in there, even if it's not for you, because I think there's nothing worse than a really dry pitch. I like a little bit in there,
Totally agree. And this is what's nice about if you first do your research. This is just the biggest tip I can ever give to anybody is do your research first. Because if you start to read articles written by a particular reporter that you're going to pitch to, you know then what type of stories they like to report on. Do they like the real statistical type story? Do they like facts and figures? So it's going to be a bit more serious. Or do they like the quirky, fun, out-of-the-box type style? Because depending on what type of things they tend to report on is going to reflect the style that you're going to pitch.
Brilliant stuff. Now, you know what I'm sitting thinking here? How can we get our audience to do this who haven't done it before? How can we give them that little shove along? My mind's ticking away here. I really want people to take this advice and execute on it, because I'm mindful that people can listen to stuff and go, oh yeah, it sounds really good, but I want them to actually execute on this. What can we do? How can we do this?
Well, I do think it is a case of believing, there's nothing special about me. I'm no different than other people. Yes, I have definitely worked on my mindset. In my days, I've done things that I've looked at myself and worked on myself. I have, that's for sure. But I do encourage people to start believing in themselves and telling themselves stories about how it's gone right for them. So, I personally meditate every morning for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I look to quieten my mind and set my day up. But I also spend time just daydreaming about when things have gone right, how things have slotted into place nicely, and get out of the what if it goes wrong game into the what if it goes right
Excellent.
Game. That's my biggest advice
Super.
to people.
Love that. So have you got anything to leave them with? Can we grab something? Have you got a PDF or tips or cool?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, this is something else that I'm hoping is going to be helpful for people to get them started. I've got a free cheat
Excellent.
sheet for them, and yes, so this is the 7 proven steps for getting featured in the media and also turning those media interviews into sales. So they can get that from my website. In fact, I've put it on a special page for them. So it's www.getfreepublicitytoday.com/industry angel.
You aren't messing about, are you?
No, it's special for them. Absolutely special
I
for
did
the
not
listeners.
set this up, by the way, listeners. So well done, Sharon. Now this is what we're talking about. It's all preparation. It's all good stuff. I love it. So I really enjoyed that, Sharon. So thank you very much. Is there anything else that I haven't said or you want to leave us with?
Well, I just wish everybody the greatest success. I just hope that just talking a little bit about my story has made people think to themselves, well, do you know what? She had no business. She had no website. She had no followers. And she just went for it because that's what she believed. She believed she could make a difference. And I just really hope people will just think to themselves, do you know what? If she dared to put herself forward and to claim that expert slot, then I can do it too.
Excellent. Are you on social, Sharon?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put all those links in the show notes. So if anybody's got any questions for Sharon, I'm sure she'll answer them, won't you?
I'd love to.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time, Sharon. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks ever so much, Ian.
Thanks to Sharon Bolt there. So I now want you to get in touch. host@industryangel.com. Let me know your PR successes and your top tips. If PR is new to you, I want you to think about your story, about your why. Okay? I want you to think about some of the successes you've accomplished this year to date and why not share them. I say this to clients that if you don't tell people about it, it never happened. So drop me a line, get in touch. Remember to leave me that review on your chosen weapon of choice, whether that be Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, however you listen, please leave me a review. That will help other people find the show and that will help us grow together. Okay, so until next time, I'm Ian Farrer. This is the Industry Angel, and thanks for listening.